Hello. I hope now people can hear me. Hi. Okay. All right. Welcome everyone. This is me, Nazish, and I hope I am loud and clear to everyone. Just in case if it's not the case, you can send me the message and let me know. Uh, so thank you very much for joining a very important, interesting, amazing topic called Kundalini. And this is the topic where we are going to discuss, demystify, understand what this whole process of Kundalini looks like, what it means, and stuff like that. I'm gonna just one sec. I think small arrangement. Come on, camera, don't do this. One sec, I'm so sorry. Mm. All right. Uh, okay. Okay. The camera has not started. Oh, you. Here I am. Sorry, guys. It was a very odd angle, and I was trying to correct it. So, hi. This is a beautiful platform of illuminations, and of course, we're going to welcome some questions. And in a few days' time, I'm going to do a round two of this topic where we are going to do Kundalini breath work, which is going to be the meditative part of this talk. Today, we are going to understand what Kundalini is all about, how we can work on it, what we can do, etc. So, I'm sure a lot of you know what Kundalini is or have heard about it one way or the other, and some of you are probably hearing it for the first time. So let's start with basics, as the idea is to understand it from basics. So we all know that we have seven major chakras in the body, and the chakras are located from the base of the voice is very low. Okay, is this any better? I hope this is better. So, yeah. So the chakras that starts from the base of the spine and run all the way to the top of the head. So we have seven major chakras, but we have actually thousands of chakras in the body. And all these thousands of chakras are distributed everywhere in the body. These are like these tiny, tiny, small energy centers spread across. We have knee chakras, eye chakras, ear chakras. We have chakras in our liver, spleen. So that the whole body is made out of these spinning wheels of energy, which is moving in the energy and clearing and formatting and developing and bringing in and releasing stuff. So, but why we focus on the seven major chakras? Because all these tiny different chakras in the body sort of like are connected to each other via this thing called nadis or meridians, and they all intersect in the center alignment of our body, and therefore the seven major chakras are somehow one way or the other connected to all these other chakras everywhere. So working on the seven major chakra, indirectly we are working on a lot of things. So what we are going to do is we are going to understand a little bit about each chakra, and then we will move to Kundalini. Is that good? Am I clear now? Am I loud and clear? Okay, I'm gonna assume that's a yes. So moving to the first chakra, which is root chakra. Root chakra is located at the base of the spine. And this chakra is, a lot of people will see it as a ruby red color. Or if you ever see a fertile soil, which is like very red, like muddy red, that's the color you want to associate root chakra with. It's not the blood red. So, if you have seen a garnet is a very good, or a red jasper, very, very correct depiction of how root chakra color is like. Root chakra, when working fine, we are going to have very stable sort of space in our life, very calm, very taken care of, secured, feeling well, feeling okay, feeling safe. The money, material needs are all provided for. And when root chakra has problem, all of this is not there. So the person is struggling to, have ends meet, or even if you have money today, but there's a constant money about tomorrow, the constant worry about tomorrow, that where tomorrow's money is going to come from, or where this is going to happen, that. So the person, if root chakra is not working fine, is living in a constant, uh, life would feel like an earthquake. You are constantly somewhere where you do not feel safe, and you do not feel like you can stay in this position for long. So stability and is not there, peace of mind is not there, we are very worried, we are very stressed out about stuff. One of the ways in which root chakra can be worked on is to work on fear. Fear is the biggest blockage of root chakra, fears and insecurities. So, as we move to other chakras, we will notice that fear is basically there in each of those blockages. So when you overcome fear, and it's not gonna be like a one session job or a one thing. It's something which needs to be understood quite well, because fear is something it's a learned response, it's instinctual, it comes from genetics, it comes from many places, and it can be operating in many ways. So a tip is, in every way you are trying to protect yourself is indication of a fear. Everything that you're doing which you feel is protecting you, this is for my own protection, that's where you will find a hidden fear. So, moving to sacral chakra. This chakra is 2 to 3 fingers down belly button. This chakra is the womb, center of the body, the creative space. When working fine, the person comes across very creative. They are extremely sensitive to emotions, but not in a negative way. They have a mastery over emotions, so they are very emotionally uh, strong people, and they can easily understand other people's emotion, and they are very good at handling emotional things. Very creative, very sensual. They are not afraid to shine, not afraid to celebrate. When sacral chakra is not working fine, we are scared of pleasures of life. So be it sensual pleasure, food. So if you are like, always worried about, oh, how I can have this chocolate cake, it could be uh, there's so much calorie in it. And so those kind of like, or judgments with anything, like looking too good, or sexual energy, everything that we judge which is associated with pleasure, is basically coming from guilt, and it's basically coming from it's basically a blockage. And one way to clear this blockage is to learn to celebrate life. And for everything that makes you feel like guilty, you have to find sacredness in it. Balance is also the key, because a person has a tendency to become overly addicted to something on this level if this chakra is not working fine. So guilt, which has to be overcome by learning how to feel as everything is sacred, everything is part of divine, and nothing is bad, negative, etc. Moving to solar plexus, this chakra is 2 to 3 fingers up belly button. This chakra is about feeling in power, feeling empathy about everyone around us, and standing up for your own free will, deciding what you want to do in life, doing things your way. Very charismatic, very I am presence. Um, this chakra will get blocked by shame. So if you ever feel like a fear of ridicule, fear of getting ridiculed, fear of not being good enough, it comes from here, not being perfect enough, not being this enough, that enough. All of that is coming from shame. The hidden energy is shame. And if the person has ever been bullied, if the person has never learned how to use their power, that's when solar plexus is going to be blocked as well. So if a person becomes too controlling, that's also a problem here. So everything needs a balance. So you have to overcome shame by allowing yourself to shine again, by allowing yourself to do things and finding your confidence within, that you can do things, that you are enough, that you are good enough. Moving to heart chakra, center of the chest, namaste point. This chakra will get, when working fine, you are a very happy-go-lucky, let-go sort of a person. Nothing ever, even if something will affect you, you're gonna, at some point slowly, uh, probably be able to let go. Like letting go is something which is not going to be hard for a person with good heart chakra. And for people who take offense or feel bad or feel hurt easily, or whatever they have felt hurt with, it's very hard for you to let go of that. Then there is need on this chakra. Grief can affect this chakra. So the Sanskrit name for heart chakra is anahata, which means unhurt. So we have to become someone who can easily let go. That's when the heart chakra will work fine. Throat chakra, which is here, basically deals with self-expression and expressing your truth. So sometimes even we don't know our truth. So I think this is my truth and I'm speaking this, but maybe this is somebody else's truth which I bought as my truth. So the whole concept of throat chakra is very unconscious, very subconscious. You have to make the subconscious conscious. So not just expressing your truth, but identifying your truth and being your truth, and being okay with your truth is what throat chakra is about. Lies are the blockage of throat chakra, being inauthentic, fear of again judgments, and that's why you're not expressing yourself, fear of isolation, too much need to be accepted, to be validated. All of this will block it. One of the ways in which throat chakra can be worked on is if you start to okay, so you have to acknowledge your truth, you have to become aware of it, acknowledge it, and you have to be okay with it. That's the start point. And if you feel a need to sort of push your truth on to other person to accept, like if somebody else needs to accept your truth, needs to be okay with your truth, then you have not reached your truth. Then again you are still only trying to push to prove a point, or to basically get validation, to basically feel supported enough. But when you find your truth, you don't need anybody to support you. You basically are so okay with it. So coming to that point, obviously it's a higher chakra. It's going to take a while. It's another level of self-acceptance when your throat chakra starts to work fine. Am I good so far? I am moving fast because ultimately I want to move to Kundalini. So this is fast. Third eye chakra, right here. So if you sort of like, let's say, put a stick here and a stick here, so they're gonna like somewhere merge in the middle, and that's where there is this third eye chakra associated with pineal gland as well. This chakra is all about the one of the things people like about third eye chakra is it can make you very, very psychic, and that's exactly what you have to give up if on the path of Kundalini. So it's very ironical. So yeah, third eye chakra is about being in your truth, and your truth is inside you and you are in touch with it. So you do not need someone else to guide you. You on this level you become your own master, and you are your own guide and you're your own guru. So you are able to connect directly to divine wisdom and you're able to know your path. So on this level you cannot be manipulated, lied to, etc. You are already quite evolved. So by the time you work with third eye, you can't just straight work with third eye chakra. So a lot of people think that if they have psychic abilities and if they are able to like maybe teleport or do astral projections or maybe they are able to, that's like, that means that they have worked their third eye chakra through and everything's fine. But it's interestingly not the case. In a traditional sort of sense, psychic powers are maybe a test, to be honest, as well. Just it's like lucrative, and you want to stay there, and you want to enjoy those psychic powers because that's power, and you feel good about it. And you sort of lose, there are a lot of people who went into sadhana, who did tapasya, which means like they meditated, they went into this for years, they secluded themselves. And when the psychic powers came, which are called siddhis, they were so elated, they were so happy about it, that they lost the whole point of why they did it, and they got stuck there. Some of them even caused destruction, which caused them to rectify in many lifetimes later. So it's about not getting uh, dazzled by it, or not getting so so attracted to it, so crazy about it, that losing sight of what is beyond that. Because this is not the final chakra, this is the last test, you can see. Basically this is the final chakra. So third eye chakra is blocked by doubts, and can be opened when you are starting to learn that you are the one who's connected to anything and everything. You can be your own guru. It's basically a very divine process. Moving on to the last chakra, which is our crown chakra. This chakra is located somewhere on the top, where you put the crown on the head, sort of. So this is the chakra which connects us to everything. The one divine energy which created probably everything. So there's one creator. The idea is that there's one creative spirit which divided itself into many pieces and parts, and then we are all expression of that divine, and we will all return to that divine. So the idea is to when you work on crown chakra, when your crown chakra is fully opened, you must have seen depictions of Buddha, Christ, where angels, where these enlightened beings, they always have like a sort of halo around them. That is indication of an open crown chakra, which means now there is nothing dividing them or separating them from divine. They are now one with it. Basically, this chakra will get blocked by ego, and ego can come in many forms. So some people have spiritual ego, so they feel, oh, I have more knowledge than you, you are inferior and I'm superior to you, which used to be the case in ancient India and some parts even now, where some sects will and even not in India but everywhere in the world, you see that some sects or some categories of people will feel, because I'm born into something, or because I have studied something so powerful, so enhanced. Sorry, one sec. Yeah. So I guess it's the candle. Yep. So some people have spiritual ego, religious ego, where they feel like they are superior to someone else because of they are where they were born and what they studied. Just a second. Okay. I hope it stopped. Right. So another form of ego is feeling like, oh, I'm such a sinner. I have so many problems. I'm such a sinner, and no matter how much good I do, it's not gonna be okay. It's never gonna be okay. God is gonna punish me. Universe is gonna punish me. I'm a bad person. So having a sort of guilt which is not, which is separating you. If guilt is bringing you to consciousness, it's a different thing. But guilt which is only torturing you and separating you from divine, and not moving on to become like an acceptance or allowance, or not moving on to become an insight, then it's a bad guilt. So, and I feel all guilts are bad guilts. I don't really believe in having guilt as a mechanism which can even help us. So some people will be skeptics and would say, oh, all of this is bullshit. Everything that you can test in a laboratory is the only thing that, I believe in. I only believe in science. So all of these, where a person would have either a very closed mindset, or you have closed off for any reason, that's all part of a blockage of crown chakra. So, and either being also sometimes it's about trusting something too much without logic. So this is where we superstitious come from, where people will follow blindly something which doesn't make sense, but it's just something nobody is questioning. So all of these are actually blocking you from connecting with God. There are many ways in which you can connect to God, divine, the supernatural power, this creative force, and every person has to find their own route. Nobody can really decide that, okay, this is the only path. For you, that's the path. For me, this is the path. Just like how we have different cultures, community, languages, food preferences, color preferences, studying preferences, career preferences, partner preferences. So just like that, it's as simple as that. Everybody has a different path. And every path, if you follow it diligently, if you are not losing, your human side, and not being not choosing something just because everybody is following, or if it's not making you feel any inferior or superior, that's the path. So you have to choose your own path, basically. A lot of people can help you on the path. A lot of people will come and go. A lot of gurus will come and go. Every small and big teacher will come and go, but you are the one who's going to walk it, I believe. So that's pretty much how seven chakra works. If you operate with the universal oneness and compassion, you are working with crown chakra. If you operate from ego, any of whether the ego is making you feel like you are someone elite, or it's making you feel like you are nothing, all of that is a block. Okay, so now the idea is to why are we even working on these chakras? What's the end game here? So basically, the whole science of yoga, meditation, pranayama, breath work, one way or the other, is about enlightening us, evolving us, making us realize there's more to life than just, okay, I'm born, I go to school, I get a degree, I work, I marry, I have kids, I die, and bye bye. It's not just that, it's more. I personally believe from my own journey that the purpose of a human life is evolution. The purpose of human life is to attain that highest state of oneness with divine, and going back to that source, completely wise, completely pure, purifying your consciousness, basically. So, just for example, when a child is born, the child is born with very pure energy. So they have no judgments. If a priest come to the child will play. If a thief comes to the child will play. The child will have no idea what they will have, no judgments, no color, no racism, nothing, nothing, nothing. But as this child is growing up, they are slowly learning about me versus them in many ways. But as this child is growing up, their choices, as they become teen, they become an adult, they become middle age, their choices and how they are doing things in life, and how they are working towards becoming a better and better version of themselves, or they are working towards just trying to defend everything that they think is right, or just that they don't even bother, they just live a robotic life, not bothering. So all of this matters, and the purpose is to evolve. The purpose is to become someone who's lived a very clean life, who has purified their consciousness, who have attained wisdom, who has attained oneness, who has learned how to forgive, who has learned how to self love, who has learned how to let go. Very important lesson, to learn how to let go. So we have to do all of this as part of being human. So every soul who has come here to learn this. So learn this, that's the point. Kundalini. So what is Kundalini? Kundalini is basically an energy sitting at the base of your spine, on the root chakra. This energy is dormant or sleeping. This energy could be sleeping for many lifetimes for most of us. This energy will become active and will start its work on you in a lifetime where you are starting to either evolve and become better, or in a lifetime where you are definitely going to attain the enlightenment. You are going to get to that higher state where your soul desires to get. So there are lives in which we are trying to learn lessons. There are lives in which we have come just to heal. There are lives in which we have come because this is the closing life, the summary. Now everything is just clearing, and you are just attaining spiritual wisdom, and you're just attaining oneness with divine. There are lives where you have completely attained that oneness with divine. Now you're born as a fully enlightened master, and you have come to help others. Some masters will come again to help others. Some masters will choose to help people from spiritual dimension. So all of that is possible, and all of it is possible for us. So now there are many evolved masters who are who have attained enlightenment, and who are in their physical body, and they are operating from, they do not show themselves out. This is one thing which enlightened people do. They do not advertise that I'm enlightened somehow. So they are just there, and they are just helping with their own capacity to help people. And how do you spot this person? This person would have no ego. You will see no ego. They will have no ego whatsoever. You will go to them, and you will feel as safe as the word safe could make you feel, because nothing in them is going to make you feel threatened. So all right, now moving to Kundalini. So Kundalini is sitting at the base of your spine, and this energy is sleeping for us. And for a few of us who have there are many ways in which this energy can just become activated. Now before I move to those ways, I will tell you how it journeys. All my Reiki level 1 students would know this, and some of them I can see here. So Kundalini energy, which is sitting at the base of your spine, let's say now activates. So what happens? First thing that will happen is your body will heat up. You will feel extremely hot. The energy will start to feel like it's shaking you. So a lot of people shake to an extent where you would feel like they are getting a fit. Some people would not shake so violently. Some people would jerk. So jerking is how my Kundalini worked for me, and still works. Whenever my body is jerking, I would know that it's my Kundalini. The heat is going to be very, very strong in the beginning when she is awakening. You will feel the pool of heat at the base of your spine moving. The movement where you feel the Kundalini moving, that part of your body you have never felt before. I can guarantee you that, because it's somewhere deep in your spinal cord, and you have never felt any sensations there. So it's very deep part of your spinal cord. It's not your muscles. It's probably in in the spinal column. So it moves in a snake like fashion like this, and it goes up. When she's going up, if the pathway is clear and all the chakras are clear, then nothing like that. So amazing. So she's gonna simply move up, connect to the crown chakra, and you're gonna feel very, very good when that happens. And then she may stay there, or she may go to different chakras. Um, so what's happening here is that the energy which is Kundalini. Now this whole science comes from Sanskrit, from Vedas. It's a Hinduistic concept. So there are many other religions across which have attained their own explanation of how it works. I'm going to explain you in terms of Vedas. So they say that Kundalini is basically the name of a Hindu goddess called Shakti. Shakti, which also means power. So sitting on the base of spine is Shakti. Sitting on top of head is Shiva. Shiva, who is the twin flame, the soulmate of Shakti, or the male, the female, the yin, the yang. So the Shakti, when she wakes up, she wants to have a union with Shiva. So she is gonna move up to the chakras. The union will happen. She is gonna go down. Now Kundalini's job is to completely open your chakras and clear your path. So she, once awakened, she is going to be working on you very regularly. So sometimes you would feel her on one chakra, sometimes on a different chakra. Now, if she has completed her first connection, then a thorough chakra cleanse will start. But in some cases, the awakening has happened unprepared. So, what is an unprepared and a prepared awakening? A prepared awakening is where, the awakening happened when my chakras were pretty clear for Kundalini to move easily. They were not as blocked that the Kundalini can't move at all. So that was prepared. Prepared could be where I have been doing chakra work very regularly, or where I have been into spiritual practices, or some sort of spiritual practices, like maybe I am very good at pranayama, or maybe I am very good at yoga, so I can hold pose for hours and hours, without any problem. So that is, or I have been meditating very regularly, and the chakra energy is so clear. So this is very prepared awakening. Or when a very highly evolved master is working with me and awakening me when they feel that I'm ready. So all of this is prepared, where either I am ready or someone who is working with me understands my energy field and awakens me. So unprepared is risky, they say. I agree with it. When unprepared awakening happens, what shows up? um, So first of all, why would the awakening happen unprepared? There are many cases where the clients had come to me, and this happened a few times actually, where they said they feel a weird sensation in their spine and they feel weird sensation happening in their body. They went, they did MRI, they did every single test out there, nothing shows up, but they swear they're not crazy and they have felt this sensation. So what happened? Kundalini happened. These people didn't even know what Kundalini is, what Kundalini means, what is it. They were living a very normal life, not knowing much of any of this, and then suddenly one day Kundalini woke up. So why is this happening when they didn't even call for it? Whereas there are people who are like sitting in sadhana asking for Kundalini to wake up. So why for some people it's happening? A few scenarios are possible here. One is that maybe I know about Kundalini and I am trying to force it open through some powerful meditation or sadhana techniques while my chakras are not ready. So I have awakened it. Second is, I was in some sort of an accident where there was a massive jerk in my body that could create a premature awakening. Third is, I went through something very traumatic, extremely traumatic, and that caused the awakening. Another case is also seen in my experience is people who were not even on this path. They had no idea. They were in fact kids. And they said that while we were in our teenage, maybe early teens or something, they felt like their entire body shook, something happened, and Kundalini awoken. So, what are all these case scenarios? So, or you have called for help. So you made a prayer, you asked for help, and the Kundalini would awaken, because that's sometimes the fastest way to help. So these are different ways of prepared and unprepared. Unprepared means that Kundalini is not gonna be able to move all the way to crown chakra. She will wake up, but she's gonna be frustrated somewhere in the middle. Whichever chakra she gets stuck at, you are stuck there, and that area of life is going through a lot of challenges. So let's say Kundalini gets stuck at heart. What will happen is I'm going to feel very, very jealous. I'm going to feel very insecure. I'm going to feel like nobody loves me. And I'm going to not see someone who loves me as love. I may also seek divorce or break up relationships. I might do a lot of crazy things. Um, if the energy wakes up and gets blocked on stomach, solar plexus chakra, this could also cause a lot of problems, where I might become become power crazy, or I might just become extremely withdrawn from the world. So whenever the Kundalini energy gets stuck, uh, that could be a problem. So premature awakenings are not encouraged. And if at all you think you are in that category, You will have to seek advice from someone who can help. One of the things which I felt was somebody asked, how do you know if Kundalini is blocked or it's a normal blockage of chakra? Kundalini blocked on a certain chakra, you would feel the frustration. So there is movement. It's physical. So you feel like this. Something's trying to move past a certain chakra. You feel the physical sensation of it. Kundalini is very physical. So you feel the jerks in that area of body. Again, if it's definitely she is stuck where the chakra, whichever chakra she is stuck as, that chakra is blocked. That's why she got stuck there to begin with. Okay, now nervous shaking from thighs or with fear. Is it Kundalini? Not sure. It is very hard to know, unless there are some masters there or some people there who are very good at perceiving whether their Kundalini is where the Kundalini is of this other person. So when mine awakened, I didn't had a master who would help me. I didn't had anybody to guide me. Nobody knew in my circle what's happening, what to expect, and it was extremely confusing. And I had to rely on my own resources. So I did whatever reading, but then when I went on to read, a lot of stuff was not very genuine on the internet. So that also causes a lot of problem. So what I did was I just started to work with my chakras. I decided that. That is a shortcut way to do this. So once now that the Kundalini is awakened, now she's moving in my body, the next best thing to do is just simply keep working on my chakras, and that's gonna do it. And a lot of people think that once she makes the once she travels from root to crown, it's done. But in my case, I didn't see that. And then in many of my students case, again I saw, and it's not like that. My Kundalini has moved from root to crown many times, and she goes down, works, comes back to different chakra, goes different chakra, goes different chakra. So she's always working very strongly with my chakras. And over the years, it's been so the first Kundalini awakening happened in 2015. So you can say it happened in 2015. So since then till now, the chakra work is very in depth, but at the same time, I'm also a very different person from then. I have evolved a lot, I believe. So okay. So moving on to what to expect when Kundalini is starting to work on you. So a lot of you I can see are asking questions: Is this Kundalini? Is that Kundalini? Is that Kundalini? I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and you can just in your mind answer it. Number one, did you feel an intense feeling of heat which caused so just be with me and listen to me. So did you feel an intense feeling of heat that overpowered your body? So it was so hot that you felt like you can do the ice bucket challenge at that time. So the heat was very strong. Was it followed by some sort of jerking or shivers? Did you feel a sensation from the base of your spine moving up, always moving up into the spinal cord? Did you feel that sensation? And that is not painful sensation. Let me tell you that it's anything but pain. It is basically a very orgasmic energy. So it's gonna feel very sensual. It's not gonna feel like pain at all. The movement is anything but pain. It's basically the highest level of pleasure actually that you can attain. So do you feel that pleasurable, sensual, orgasmic energy moved up? So that is indication that your Kundalini has probably moved from activated and moved. Now, whether she has or whether she hasn't, if you are not aware of it, just don't think you are awake, because that's just like maybe you are not aware enough. So it's best that you do organic chakra work. Okay, so now moving on to uh, one sec. Moving on to certain ways in which Kundalini can be awakened. So you might want to write this down if you want. One of the ways in which my Kundalini awakened, in which I got my awakening, was Reiki. believe it or not. So I practiced Reiki daily on my chakras uh, for about a year, and after that, the awakening happened. So Reiki is daily energy movements in your chakras. The same thing can be attained. The same thing can be attained with Tai Chi, Qigong as well, because they also work with the Qi. So all of these energy healing techniques are amazing. Kundalini Reiki, someone asked, it's not actually Kundalini. So Kundalini Reiki is very different, and I've studied Kundalini Reiki. So it's Reiki energy which moves from base of spine to top of head, but it's not an actual Kundalini awakening. So the next thing that can help you awaken in my list is meditation practice. So regular meditation is, if I just want to go ahead of myself and say 100% effective on this path. So regular meditation with intention to clear your chakras. And so what you do in meditation is you're going to work on your psychological blocks with your chakras. So you're going to overcome your fear, you're going to overcome shame, you're going to overcome guilt. You're going to do that with meditation. And this is going to take some level of practice. So it's not going to be like to, because a lot of people are like, oh, I tried meditation, it didn't work for me. It can't work for you in one time, two times, three times. It's something which requires, there's a reason why monks are meditating 14 to 16 hours a day. Why are they doing that if you can just sit and attain that? It requires cultivation, it requires practice, it requires patience, and you need to be consistent. So there is no day off for self work, remember that. I always say that to my students and clients, no day off for self work. Always, at all times, you are going to do this. Yes, so the someone wrote about mantra, and mantra is a very good way. So a mantra can be something that you chose, a mantra can be something that your guru gave you, a mantra can be something that you know somehow came in contact with you in your life, and then it became very strongly your mantra. So a mantra chant could be amazing, and if it's a mantra which you connect with, it is amazing. So yes, meditation, mantra chant. You could follow a very healthy diet. If you want to work on your kundalini, you have to make sure that you are never eating a lot. You have to eat light, and you have to make sure that you allow your stomach to feel hungry. For me, I think intermittent dieting is an amazing idea, because if you don't have a medical issue or something, then maybe it's a good idea to like you know eat like 2 meals, or if you want to eat 3 meals, the third meal has to be very very light. So something like that could be effective. Very clean, very healthy diet. Another thing that can work, and I want to really say that it does work, is pranayama, which is the breathing techniques taught in yoga. It takes years to master pranayama. So there are many types of pranayama, and it takes years to master them. And even after studying it for a month, 2 months, it's not like you're going to get there. So it's going to take a while before you can actually master one or two types out of so many. But if there are some people who knows how to do pranayama and even work on their organs of the body, so they can totally rejuvenate different organs of your of their body, glands and stuff, with the power of breath. There are awakenings that can happen with masters. So if there's an awakened master and you have a good luck of finding such a master, and this master has been benevolent and wants to work with you, there's no such grace. Like you know, it's a beautiful thing to have an awakened master work with you. And there are some people fortunate enough to have that. um, since I did not find my master, so I know. So people who advertise, I really don't go to them, and I leave this on chance that if there is a master meant to be, they will show themselves, and I don't have to Google them. So I had never Googled a master. Another way to work with Kundalini is through Kriya Yoga. So Kriya Yoga is basically, anyone who doesn't know about this, you have to read a book called Autobiography of a Yogi. The Autobiography of a Yogi. Now, this book explains a technique called Kriya Yoga, which is supposed to be the birth of, like you know, the original yoga. They say the most original organic yoga. This yoga is use of breath, use of postures, use of mantra. So there are these different types of kriyas or techniques that they will teach you. There is an initiation, so the master will has to initiate you. You cannot learn kriya yoga from YouTube and reading a book and stuff. There you will need a master in person who's gonna initiate you and teach you the kriyas, and then you will do those techniques. And they travel all around the world. So if you type kriya yoga on Google, you will find these groups of kriya yogis who will be in different countries. um, can you write this yoga? It's kriya, so Kriya, kriya, Kriya. This yoga is basically yes, that's correct. No, not Sudarshan Kriya, no, just Kriya yoga. So Kriya. Now if you really want to know about it, go over the book called The Autobiography of a Yogi. You will not be sorry. It's an amazing book. It seriously is. So yeah, yes, that's right. That's right. So another way in which people can attain Kundalini awakening is through so okay, it's plant medicine. So you may have heard of people who went to the tribes and the natives and tried ayahuasca or tried magic mushrooms or tried any type of plant medicine, and they had like a spiritual epiphany. They saw visions. It's true. So yeah, you can get an awakening through plant medicine, but it is not going to be 100% thing. So if you are ready, you will get the Kundalini awakening. If you're not ready with Kundalini, then you will get other experiences, like you may know stuff about you, you may see some visions. Uh, the Kriya Yoga, which is done in House of Om, again is just the practice, and you will need a master to initiate you. And there is a Kriya Yoga Dubai page on Facebook. Please follow them. They have a genuine master, and they will be help. They will help you to get the attunement, and they will teach you everything. So before you take initiation, do not go anywhere, because half knowledge is not good. So very important to do it the right way, especially if it's Kundalini, and if it's something which is as spiritual as your spiritual path, like opening your chakras. Okay, so one thing which another thing which was on my list is uh, Shakti part. So Shakti part is basically an attunement which some of the yogis can give, and they are not very choosy in India about it. They can you go, and there are like large gatherings, and they are doing like a massive Shakti part initiation. It's mostly like just a touch that they give you basically on your third eye or your crown or something, and it's sort of powerful if you ask me. So yeah, Shakti part initiation is something interesting to look at. You will have to again always when you are working, when you are looking at technique which involves a master, in your heart and soul, keep your conscience very clear and ask and pray for a master who is right for you, so that you do not get in touch with someone not right. Okay, so these are several ways in which you can get your awakening. Now, a few things that I wanted to like discuss is, why do we want to get awakened? So basically, the idea is that the thorough chakra cleanse that Kundalini provides is a part of, ending all the sufferings that we have been carrying in our genetics, in our past lives, in this life. So it's like, end of all that suffering, end of all the pain and trauma of that, that we've been caring about this whole being human thing. So that is there. Then there is also about, as I said, the whole purpose of being human is evolution. So the idea is to evolve, and the idea is to come out of your comfort zone, to come out of all the places you decided, this is it, I don't want to like move from here, this is my most perfect, most safe zone. So you need to like move out of all the stuck spots and evolve. So you would do this also because you want to taste the divine nectar. So when you open your whole consciousness, your chakras are open, and you attain, these states of enlightenment, or these states of oneness with everything. There is nothing like that. There is no such no feeling which can describe it. There is no replacement of it. It's one of the most sweet experiences of being human, I guess. And you want to just try that, while you're here. Like, if you had, let's say, all the money in the world, and then you came to know that there is this island, a tropical island, and it's so beautiful and it's so untouched, and they're opening up and they want people to like come see their culture and come see how amazing it is, and the food is good and the people are good. You would want to go there, right? You would want to try it. So it's the same when you're working on Kundalini. The idea is, you have your chakras, you have your basic everything you need. So why won't you want to try something so amazing as enlightenment, evolution, purifying, oneness, compassion, divine love? You want to try those things. It's amazing. One of the things you have to be vigilant about, aware of, is when I was mentioning about third eye, is the psychic powers. The psychic powers will open up the more you let go of all the fear-based, ego-based things. So all guilt, blame, shame, anger, hurt, pain, grief. When you're clearing this stuff, you're becoming very psychic, because you're not operating from preconceived ideas anymore. There is no right, wrong, good, bad anymore. So when you are operating from that level, you are becoming very psychic, because you see things with crystal clarity. It's right in front of you. So there is no need to manipulate that information. You can handle the truth so well that now you don't have to twist anything. You don't have to sugarcoat anything. You don't have to make it good or terrible. It is what it is. That is a psychic power as well, seeing things exactly how they are. So the idea is to become very, very psychic, but at the same time, no, don't get addicted to anything. So when the root chakra starts to open up, you become very abundant with money. So now what happens is, if you become greedy with money and you're like, wow, I'm just I'm enjoying this whole process of having money. So you get stuck there. So then you don't move to a sacral. And when you open to the sacral, you start to enjoy every experience as divine. Every food tastes divine. Sex tastes divine. The things you see taste divine. Everything is divine. The music is divine. The sight is divine. So there is nothing wrong anywhere. If you get addicted here, you would become an addict. You would just become lost in pleasures, and then there's nothing more. So everything you fully attain, and then you give up. That's the idea. So you fully attain material, financial security, you give up. You fully attain the entire divinity of pleasures, then you give up. You fully attain the sense of self, you fully attain and master the power, you give up. You complete your, you fully attain that capacity to be love, receive love, give love, and then you give up all the love for the love of God. You attain the ability to speak the truth, to become very convincing, to become very good at communication. And then, if you have noticed, spiritual people are very silent. They don't talk so much. So when you attain that level, you become silent. You are enjoying the mysteries of the universe. You can't usually describe a lot of things in words when you attain that level. You attain the psychic powers, you attain all these siddhis, and then you have to give that up. Giving up doesn't mean that blocking all of that. Giving up means moving beyond that. So don't just stay there. You had your fun, now just move beyond that. So all the stuff that's happening, and everything that you give up doesn't mean it goes away. It's become a part of you. For example, let's say if somebody is deficient with calcium, so now they will take calcium medicine. So for a while you will have to take calcium medicines, but after a while your body starts to produce it, because now your body has learned it, or maybe you have corrected your diet, or maybe you've corrected whatever was required to be corrected. Now you don't have to take calcium pills. Now it's a part of you, right? So let's say if you are looking for a soulmate. Now you're looking for a soulmate. You're looking for a soulmate, but now the soulmate is there. Now you every day live together. So now you're not looking for the soulmate. So now it's a part of you. So like that, everything that you have attained has become a part of you. Now surpass it and move beyond it. Now when you move to crown chakra again, there's gonna be like, a lot of spiritual wisdom. There's a lot of divine experiences you're gonna taste, and then you're gonna you have to learn to be like, who can taste, touch, feel everything, and is attached to nothing. So that is going to be, one of the things that's a lot of people are stuck on different levels because of that. Because whatever you have created, you're so scared it will go away that you just don't want to leave it. You're holding it so tight. So the idea is to learn to surpass it. It's now a part of you. It has become you. It's not going to go anywhere. So move beyond that, create more. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And I took all the time that was there. So I'm gonna shut up and ask you guys if you have any questions, doubts, concerns. Do let me know now. You can turn on your mics or chat or whatever way works. Are all the mics off by? I'm gonna go and check the chats. Maybe you guys have sent some chats. There's a lot of chats here. What books would you recommend for Kundalini awakening? Start with Autobiography of a Yogi. You will like it. It's a simple book. Do crystals help with Kundalini awakening? They do. You can start working with wands, because wands have the ability to point the energy towards, unidirectionally towards one chakra. So helps you to clear blocks from, chakras. Link for Facebook page. That's going to be hard right now. But if you type Kriya Yoga Dubai, you will find it. Kundalini masters in Dubai, I really wouldn't know. There is this sect of yoga called Kundalini Yoga, but none of that is going to be the thing for you. It's all are like steps. Nothing is going to take you there. So you can start with, whatever is easiest for you. Don't look for something complicated. Start with whatever is easiest for you. Look for, simple chakra work, meditation techniques. Look for simple stuff, and go beyond that slowly. What is Kundalini Reiki? Kundalini Reiki is basically also done with attunement. I have heard you have to be at least level 3 Usui to be level 1 Kundalini Reiki. And when they attune you, you feel the energy moving from the root chakra to crown chakra in a Kundalini like manner, fountain like manner. Seeing aura, is it side effect of Kundalini awakening? Not at all. It is something which a person who has a good power of third eye and they are very psychic, they can do that. It has not anything to do with Kundalini basically. What is the difference between pain in some chakras with no physical push? So pain could be the blockage. It is not necessarily Kundalini. It could be the block on that chakra, and you are good enough to experience, to know that there is some block. Like for example, I had a block on my throat chakra, and I physically felt like something is choking me for a while. Why does it wake up in the middle of the night? Yeah, middle of the night is like, for some reason, Kundalini's favorite time, 2 or 3 p.m. or 4 sorry, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. is the time where she likes to play with us, I guess. So yeah, she wakes up during that time. I guess that's the time where the activity or everything is like slowed down. So now we are probably ready for some spiritual work. So she shows up during the night a lot. Vibrations in the spine, could this be anything to do with Kundalini? Can't be sure. Could be just a certain chakra completely opening up as well, not necessary to do with Kundalini. Okay, so if anyone doesn't have, how do we know if the chakras are blocked and need cleansing? So chakras are blocked. You would know if you are operating from fear, guilt, if you are not satisfied with your life, if things are not going as per you want, you command and things show up. If that's not happening, then there are blockages. And if you have already mastered all of like that, and you are already in a very calm space, you're much relaxed, and you are not very attached to anything, then that means you have now moved higher. So people who have been through near-death experience might have had Kundalini experiences. Not necessarily it has anything to do with Kundalini experiences, but near-death experience sometimes will awaken your Kundalini and sometimes it won't. Um, so which better, yoga or Tai Chi? So there is no such thing. Again, I will say there is no such thing as this is better than the other. I would say go for what you can find easily, what is there in front of you which is attracting you. All these techniques work. Believe me or no, all these techniques work. Consultation and Kundalini awakening, yes, I can help with that. I can probably, so what I can do is, I guess all your comments are going to be on Facebook later, or I don't know. So this will go on Facebook, so I can like, you can contact Illuminations. That's easiest way. So you can contact Illuminations and ask them for getting a consultation, and I can check you. I don't need you in person, so you could be online anywhere in the world, and I can check your status of Kundalini or your chakras and give you a reading. I can do that because I have attained that much at least. So yeah, my to-go advice is, do not get stuck with which is the most powerful technique. There is no such thing. Please try and look for what is easily available for you and what is very achievable at this point for you. Okay, so if some master somewhere is claiming that, oh, you come to me and you have to like cross so many seas to go to that master, give up a lot, don't do that. It's not necessary. Start easy, start simple, be consistent. That is the idea. Start with as simple as meditation, as simple as meditation. Blindfold yourself, close your eyes, choose a mantra and chant it. You can start with 20 minutes and go for like, 30 minutes, an hour, up to you. Start with something. Yeah. A few days from now, which I don't remember when, I'm going to be doing a Kundalini breathwork meditation. So any one of you who's interested can join. These kind of meditations will not guarantee the awakening is going to happen, but there are chances if you are ready, if you are there. Uh, so you can you can attain the first state of awakening, which is the jitters and the heat and stuff can happen. uh, as I said, it's a process, and the chakra cleansing can go on for years after Kundalini. So it's like an auto healing that just started. And I have noticed that, whenever I am in the right space or whenever I'm upset as well, my Kundalini has been very active and has worked with me. So I guess we've gone a little over time, and I'm gonna thank you all for joining me. And if you liked it, you can attend the breathwork meditation that I'm gonna do in few days, and you will see it on Facebook and stuff when they advertise. And I wish you all the best, and I wish you safe awakening and pleasant experiences and simple life. Simplicity is the key. Thank you very much. Thanks.